Welcome to Turtle Talk. This is Morgan's story and the family's journey. I'm Craig, and
Hi, Michelle. Welcome.
so we were mourning. I was mourning a lot of loss, and I know this sounds very selfish, but like our anniversary's coming up, and February of 17, Tom and I snuck away to Vegas for the first time by ourselves, and we decided then that we had so much fun that we would go back every February after that, just kind of a annual getaway because we had a great time. And then Morgan's accident happened, and now we realize that Vegas isn't happening again.
Mm-hmm.
Trips alone will never happen again. Like the way we had envisioned our retirement and traveling the world, that's just not in the cards anymore. So we're supposed to be sliding into retirement, making our plans for retirement, and kind of, it seems like when people retire, they go back and have a second youth. They go do all the things that they worked their asses off for their whole life, and we're not going to get to do that. That's just not in the cards for us. So I'm okay with that, but it still doesn't mean I don't mourn the loss of it.
Right.
Our life trajectory will not ever be what we had planned it to be. It's a whole new normal.
No.
And that was hard. So, going to Lincoln, all those realizations had just hit, and I was feeling really down, and I was just kind of struggling with life in general, and I was tired, and we've had a lot on our plate, and just trying to get stuff done and get through the next day, and we're feeling overworked, beat up, and there's no solution to it. We just got to keep trying to get the work done. And I needed to go see them, and then going to that mass really put things in perspective, for me. And then you spend some time, we were driving home, and I just kind of started reflecting on all the gifts that probably would have never happened had this situation not occurred, Morgan's accident, and I think back to all the amazing people and situations that have happened in our life. I don't know, here 4 years ago already. Gosh, time flies. I was in Sioux Falls one day, and I had to go to a football game, and maybe we talked about this. I was going to a football game, but I didn't want to go home and unload Morgan and everything, only to spend 45 minutes at home and then reload to go back to the football game. So I thought, well, I'll just get a coffee and hang out, whatever. And I thought, gosh, let's just go to Walmart, and I had no plans of going to Walmart because I really hate going there. It's always crazy, and parking is crap, and you know, and I thought, but one of the boys had asked for hand warmers for the football game, so I thought, well, we'll go in and get some hand warmers. And so I unload Morgan, and we're wandering around the store, and periodically throughout the day I kept thinking about my great grandfather Henry. And Henry passed away when I was little, like newborn. And so I've never met him. I mean, I met him as an infant, but I obviously wouldn't remember that. And I was thinking about him and my great grandma Rosalia, and what a struggle their life had been. They had two boys, and they lived on the farm with my grandpa Eugene. But Grandpa Eugene's brother, Donald, went off to the war and came back and was never quite right after that. And Donald separated himself from his brother, from his parents, from everyone. And I just thought, geez, how hard that must have been for Henry and Rosalia, my great grandparents, to have a child that came back so different, but then that child separated himself from them. And they had a daughter-in-law and grandkids that they never really ever saw. I don't even know if they ever did meet them. But so I'd been thinking a lot about my great grandpa Henry and how I wish I could have met him. You know, I knew my great grandmother I was, I don't know, 18 or something when she passed away, but I wish I would have had the opportunity to meet him. But anyhow, I was, thinking periodically throughout the day about him and stuff. And I thought, well, here I am in Walmart and stuff, and I'm wandering around, just no hurry, no true direction. I'm just going to wander. Ended up way back in sporting goods. And oh, lo and behold, here's the hand warmers. And so I'm kind of looking at what my options are, big ones, little ones, what's Ethan going to need, or Brendan, I don't even remember what kid it was at the time, and how many are they going to need? And there's this guy standing there, and he's kind of looking at me and looking at Morgan and looking at the stuff there, and he's kind of looking, and I just jokingly looked over at him and I said, oh, heck, just buy one of everything. And he starts laughing. He goes, well, I'm trying to decide how much I can get back. And I said, oh, back where? And he goes, well, I'm from Canada. And he said, oh my goodness, things are so much cheaper here. And, wow, I want to just buy everything, but I can only bring back certain things and stuff. And I mean, we sat there and we started talking. Well, then he asked me about Morgan. And then he started praying over Morgan. And then we were talking. And then it's a few hugs. We introduce ourselves finally. I mean, we had talked for 15, 20 minutes before we finally introduced each other. I had introduced Morgan, but not me or him. And he holds out his hand and he goes, well, I'm really pleased to meet you. My name is Henry. And I went, wow. Right? Like, okay. I'm getting this, right?
The God thing.
It's a God thing again. And so then we sat there and visited. I bet we probably visited for a good half hour. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, well, I really got to get going. I got to get to my kids' football game and stuff. And he's like, so a few hugs and stuff. And then some more talking. And then more hugs. And then some more talking. So now 45 minutes later, I'm finally walking away. And I got his information. He got mine so we could stay in touch. And I thought, oh, I should probably go get some snacks. So I wandered that way with my hand warmers. And I'm over in the grocery section on the other side of the store. And here he is. Here comes Henry walking up the aisle. And I'm like, well, we're good. He's like, here, I want Morgan to have one of our hats. He's a rancher up in Canada. So it's, his name and the farms and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, that's so sweet. Then it's another 15 minutes of conversation, few more hugs, and then he leaves. And I just sat there and I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. So to this day, I'm still friends with Henry. They came up and visited, or down, I should say. They came down and visited, and we took him out kayaking on the river and stuff, and just had a wonderful time with his family. And, and we still stay in touch. We message each other and call every now and then. And I was hoping to get to Canada. Oh, goodness. I was hoping to get to Canada this year to go visit him. But, of course, when I went to find my passport, I have no idea where it is. So I don't think we'll be doing that until I can get my passports done.
You want to get back.
Might be a little bit of a delay, but, I think of, wow, I got to always take time to remember all the positive that's been given to us. And after that mass, one of our friends had said, he does a lot of very generous things for people. And he said, I just hear God telling me what I need to do. And he said, I struggle with that because I always want to negotiate or try and do it cheaper or do it in a different way, even though the message I got was very distinct. And and I just remember thinking, I don't know what God's asking me to do. I don't know what my calling is. I don't know. I just don't know. Am I dumb and I don't hear it? Am I not listening? Am I not paying attention? Like, how do you recognize this? Because this is like, people go to church and you come back, but do you really understand God's calling for you? Do you understand that maybe these voices in your head aren't just voices in your head? Maybe it's God putting things there for you and the ability to discern these things, right? And so I'm on the struggle bus all the time with this. Like, this is a whole new concept. I'm halfway through my life, and this is a whole new concept of how to discern what's God talking to you and what's just my crazy imagination, because we all know my imagination can run a little wild now and then, right? No comment. Hey, you'd be nice. So he said, God's got a mission, a plan for each one of us. So we have to be able to understand and recognize that. And so I really finally came to the realization of that about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
I think I figured out what God's plan is for me. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. We love hearing from you guys, so keep the comments and the questions coming for us.
Yes. Love the questions. Please subscribe. Go to www.givemorgan.org or visit me at my real estate website, realtorcraigbertrand.com. And we always want your questions, comments, like, and share wherever you listen or watch.
Thank you.
Thank you.